Welcome to Now is the Time. I'm Trinidad.
And I'm Janelle.
And we are here to talk to you, to experience you, and for you to get to know us a little bit more.
Yes.
I'd like to start off in prayer.
Let's do this.
Do you want to start off or do you want me to start off?
No. You
I
can
got
start
it?
it. You
I
got
got
it.
it?
You
All
got
right.
this, sis.
Woo, Heavenly Papa, we come before you and we say, have your way.
Yes.
Have your way on this podcast. Have your way in our lives.
Yes, God.
And God, we take a deep breath. We breathe in you and all the good things, and we breathe out any negative thoughts, any negative feelings. And we say, Papa, guide us. Guide us on this journey of learning about ourselves and learning about you.
Yes, Lord.
Learning about how we love others and learning about how others love us.
Yeah.
We really want you to show up and show out, really, if I'm completely honest, God.
Yeah.
So we surrender. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, sis.
Ooh, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling relaxed. I mean, just feeling like that just kind of washed over me. So definitely set the atmosphere.
So the last podcast, the last episode that we had, we talked about a lot of things.
Yeah, we did.
I feel like all of our episodes are kind of packed. They flow, but they're kind of packed. And one of the things that I feel like we've tapped on, but we haven't really gone deep on, is vulnerability.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And I really would love if we can explore vulnerability in our lives, vulnerability at work, vulnerability in the church, and vulnerability in our relationships.
Yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one.
What's in your mind right now? Because I know as soon as I said that, you were like, bruh.
Here we go. That's what I'm thinking. Here we go. But yeah, it's interesting because I would consider myself a vulnerable person. Like anybody that knows me knows, like, if I mess with you and I rock with you, like, I'm pretty much an open book. Like, I don't really hold back. But I've noticed myself lately questioning if that's like, if I'm sharing too much, if I am like, if I'm using wisdom in that vulnerability, in that space that feels good. I've been questioning whether is that going to be taken advantage of or like I've just been questioning whether I've been giving it too much. And then also just a real thing is just, my family and like people around me who are like opposite of vulnerable, and kind of like I've been told by some people that like I talk too much. And so like having to like reconcile with like, okay, being vulnerable feels good. Feels like this is something I should do, but maybe I should do less of it or be more selective. And so I'm still kind of like toting, and especially like in this space doing a podcast, we're here to be vulnerable, right? So I'm just like, and that makes me feel all like opened up and raw and, and which is a good thing, but it's something that I think takes some preparation and some tending to as we do this,
When I think about vulnerability, I don't just think about talking.
Oh, go deeper. What do you mean when you say that?
Because most of your examples are like, I'm talking too much, I'm speaking too much, I'm sharing too much.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking vulnerability is a state of being.
Ooh.
And not to sound all existential,
I'm like, ooh, that was deep.
or whatever, but it's like, can I be vulnerable with my actions? Can I be vulnerable in my posture? Can I be vulnerable in how I treat others?
Yeah.
And how I interact with others? I believe that there is an aspect of communication,
Mm-hmm.
right? But at the same time, it's how my response is.
That's showing the vulnerability. Give me an example of like an action that you can show vulnerability in.
So what's funny is corporate
Yeah.
comes first. You know, we
Okay.
talk about being vulnerable in the workplace. What does that
Mm-hmm.
look like? Why'd you roll your eyes?
Because it's always, to me, it's always like they say you want to be vulnerable in the workplace, but they don't really want you to be vulnerable in the
Well, what do
workplace.
you need in order to be vulnerable?
To feel safe?
And a lot of times that's not work.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So like what we consider vulnerable is just like a certain layer of vulnerability at work, but it just doesn't feel like it's like a real.
So as we talk about vulnerability in work, I can't talk about this without talking about Brene Brown. Brene Brown is a woman who wrote a book, multiple books, and she focuses on vulnerability and leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And she really wants corporate leaders to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
What she means by that is to share the wins and the losses. Don't try and
Got it.
cover up the mess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're in this together. So when I think of an example of vulnerability is not trying to cover up the mess.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
And that is scary,
Yeah,
but I also believe there's deliverance in that.
absolutely.
It's being able to be real and present and say, like we were talking in the last episode, something's off.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling this, or wow, my sales this past month have been trash.
Yeah.
Okay, in order to get help, I may have to be vulnerable to someone and say, hey, my sales have been really terrible,
Yeah.
and I just need 5 people to do said thing or pay double, right? Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, whatever it is. It's like we were talking this morning at the hotel. Being vulnerable is expressing the state that I'm in and also acknowledging where God is in that state.
Yes.
So it's not making the current state any lesser
Yeah.
or any greater.
Yeah.
It's saying this is what it is, but God.
Yes.
And I was sitting with that for a little bit, and I was like, wow, what does it look like to be in a place? And it's not a physical place. It's not a place in community, but in a place in God. That's my safe place.
Yeah.
So you know how we say you have to be in a safe place to be vulnerable. If my
Yeah.
place is in God, if I'm dwelling and He's dwelling with me, and that's
Yeah.
my safe place, then I can rest in that.
Right.
But if I don't have that place,
Yeah.
a lot of times I think about, and I want your thoughts on this. A lot of times I think about the world and all the things that are going on in the world, and I'm like, yo, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have Christ in my life.
Talk about it.
I don't know.
Literally.
Like, I think I would lose my mind, like, or I would become some kind of self-righteous person that thinks that I'm God. Like, I would literally
Yes.
think that I'm God, like, because I'd have to find some kind of place that I'm, and don't take the sound bites from this because I'm not God, but I'd have to find a place where I find peace, and there's no peace without Christ.
Yeah.
There's no true peace.
Yeah. No, I thought about a couple things as you were talking. So, yeah, so just people being able to, just kind of going back a little bit, just to be able to come and say, like, when you ask people how they're doing, you know, like just being able to bring your whole self and
That's
just
scary.
be like, it is. But being able to just acknowledge like that vulnerability of just, I'm not really doing so good right now. And I've been trying to practice that lately because I know it's like socially acceptable and normal to be like, I'm good. And lately I've been like, I'm all right. I'm all right, you know? Yeah, it's been in this season that I'm in life. And, you know, I've talked about it and you all know this wilderness season of divorce, that people have been shocked when they have found out, because this is like a recent thing, when people are finding out what I'm going through that are not in my inner circle, people are like shocked. They're like, oh my gosh, you seem so vibrant. Like, you seem like you have so much life this year. You seem like you have, I literally can only say it's God. And people who are not there are so confused about it. And like, I don't have much more explanation in that moment of being like, it's God's grace. It's God's love that I feel peace. I mean, have I always felt this peace? No. Have I in this journey? No, this is a recent peace. But I think that the peace is really in just knowing that my pain is for a purpose, and that this shift that I'm going through is to align me to something that's going to get me to a happier place than I thought that I was in. And that's air quotes for the non-visual people. Like, I thought that I was in a happy place, but no, God has something happier for me after this shift. So yeah, that was like a whole vulnerability moment that I had to have with God, of like something that I was praying for and saying that I wanted, and realizing like, oh, I'm so glad God didn't give me what I prayed for, you know, and then being humble enough to say that he didn't give me what I prayed for, and it's what I needed. You know?
I'm here for this sidebar
Yeah.
on, I'm glad that God didn't give me what I prayed for. Can
Absolutely.
you go deeper on that?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that in this particular instance and circumstance, I was holding on to my marriage by a thread. And I'm just like, I'm in clutching for dear life, because I was so scared to lose what was my normal. And I was like fasting about it. I was praying like I never did before. I got closer to God. Probably, and it's probably his way of just being like, girl, this is the only way I'm gonna get her. This is the only way I'm gonna get her, because she is so, this marriage got her in a chokehold. And this is the only way that I'm gonna get her. And that's how he got me. I was on my hands and knees begging God. And it's because he put me in a position that felt like a deficit at one point. Then he was able to show me like, no. I'm going to strengthen you, because you're seeking me the way that you are in a low, desperate place. I'm going to fill you up and make you know that you really didn't even need all of that. You made him your source, but I was supposed to be your source, you know? And so that's when I can say, yeah, thank God he didn't give me what I needed, because if I would have had what I needed, I wouldn't have sought him in the way that I did. I wouldn't have been desperate enough. So that was my thank you.
What's interesting is there was a season in my life where, COVID happened, and I got rid of my place in Oakland, which was way too much money, FYI.
Yeah.
Inflation's real. And I went to Washington State.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed it to a certain extent because I felt secure. What you said about like who my trust was in, who was my source.
Mm-hmm.
I truly felt secure for a first time in a long period of time.
Yeah.
And I was able to go to the gym. I was able to work remotely. I was able to do all the things. And at one point, my friend Alexia Grace invited me to a women's conference,
Mm-hmm.
and for our birthdays are both in April,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was like, "Let's go." I'm thinking, she's like, "Let's go to the Bahamas," and I was like, "Okay, let's go," and I had the ability to go there with the wrong intent and come back transformed.
Wow.
So I think she tricked me. It was a women's conference. She didn't trick me. She has a different story than I do.
Okay.
Because if you ask me, I was ready. I was like, God, do something. And she said I was like literally manifesting, saying, I don't want to go. I don't want to do this. Mm-hmm. And it was a women's conference with prophetess Dr. Maddie Nottage in the Bahamas. And God shook me. He transformed me. He delivered me through her. She didn't touch me. She didn't say my name or anything like that. And God bless her for not doing any of those things, because it literally gave God the glory in the midst of it.
Yes.
And I went back to Washington, the quote unquote safe place, and realized that I was in an illusion of safety. And then that quote unquote safety became a prison. And I went back to God after that. Like it was like my come to Jesus moment. I will tell you, I never left him, right? He never left me. Well, I probably left, said, here, stay home, stay at home. I'll be back. Like, I'll be back. I'm going to go out to the club.
And then he followed you.
I'll be back. You know? But, he never left me.
Yeah.
And so even on that journey, when I got back, as I'm praying and I'm seeking him, because I realized like I'm not in a good place.
Yeah.
And you just delivered me from a couple or a lot of demons, right? And I felt the shift. His next step was, you need to leave. So I had to make a choice to get out of that safe place.
Yeah.
To continue following Christ.
Yeah.
And growing up the way I did, I grew up born in New York, raised in California, Salinas, California, holla. But I did all my dirt in Salinas, California. And in order for me to shift, I needed to remove myself from the environment that I was in.
Yeah.
Even if it was like 50 miles to Oakland or 50 miles to San Francisco, however many miles that is, I couldn't surround myself in the same and expect different results.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's a roundabout way, but I know we started off with vulnerability in work and in life, but as we took the detour, I'm just constantly thinking about, what am I praying for? And do I really want what I'm praying for? Am I praying something that I think is going to comfort me?
Yeah.
Am I praying something that I think is going to meet a need, but I haven't dealt with the root of the need?
And see, that's so tough when we talk about comfort, because it's like, a lot of people be like, yeah, I'm praying for comfort. Like, yeah, I want to be comfortable. What do you think the issue is in praying with that posture? Like, of like just wanting to like, maybe escape it. Or I don't know if escape is the word, but just praying in what you were saying, just that comfort.
What's funny is when you said, some people pray for comfort, and I immediately saw like a gorge. I know this is weird. I saw still water.
Okay.
Dead water. Have you ever been by those like swamps or there's no flow of life in, there's no flow of life out, and it's just like,
I can envision it. I don't think I've ever.
okay.
Like, yeah.
Well, I know that like probably Florida has a bunch of those.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, but like, if you watch CSI back in the day, you know what they were like,
Sure.
kind of like whatever. But I'm sorry, that kind of dates me as well.
It's fine.
CSI
It's
Miami.
okay.
Anything that is still,
Yeah.
life will eventually begin to cease in it. Too still, like I'm talking dead still, like,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying comfort equates like death.
Yeah.
I'm not
To
going
dead things.
I'm not going that, but we have to be comfortable in being uncomfortable.
I agree with that. But then I also agree, like,
Sorry.
the goal is to be comfortable at some point. I don't know. It's
Is it?
tough. I mean, so it's like
When
yes
Jesus
and
comes
no.
back,
Child.
I'm serious.
Any day now.
Every day. I mean, like,
Yeah.
so if you find yourself, and I want to hear your thoughts, if you find yourself being comfortable in the uncomfortable, there's not much that can shake you.
Yeah.
So there is a peace that passes all understanding in that.
Right. Right. Yeah. I definitely agree. I definitely am someone who always, like I say on my Instagram, if you ever follow me, like get comfortable with the uncomfortable, because I know that change and growth is on the other side of discomfort, right? And like transformation and all those things. But somebody is grieving, or someone is,
You're talking about that form of comfort.
yeah, like that's the kind of comfort that I'm like, that's what I felt when you said discomfort. I'm just like, yeah, some people just need to be comforted in
I like
those
that.
type of situations and seasons. There is a time for comfort, you know.
Going back to Solomon and time for everything, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where definitions, I think, get me. Because, like, I will tell you the basis of the comfort that I'm talking about is not there. It's not comforting in the time of need. Because God is there for needs.
Okay.
God is, I mean, that's the definition. You know how when you look up a definition, there's like 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
4. So I know that there's multiple definitions for comfort. I think the context of what I was talking about is more in the lines of complacency.
Got you. I'm definitely aligned. Like I'm never wanting to encourage, or even for myself, I never want to be complacent and comfortable in places of complacement, because I think that God wants us to grow. He wants us to stretch. We always need to evolve. So I'm aligned on that.
Sweet. So then we go back to vulnerability and
Yeah.
relationships.
Yeah. Romantic relationships, or
What do you want to talk about?
I always like to talk about romantic. I'm a lover.
Okay, so in romantic relationships, and then we bring in what we just talked about, complacency.
Yeah.
Is there? You just gave the look.
Sorry.
If y'all
Ignore me.
are not looking at the video, but she was just like, yeah, like
I'm in a
just
season.
we're all in a season of growth.
Yeah. Word.
What does it look like to be able to be vulnerable when you're interacting with someone who is complacent?
Yeah. In a place when someone is complacent, yeah, that's tough. That's tough, because it can happen, and it can show up in so many relationships. I like to beg, there's usually one person that's more complacent than the other in relationships, probably.
Yes.
You know what I
Yes,
mean? It's
and-
always a
Yes, and
yes, and you know, like there's always someone who's like, I like our routine. You know, I like our routine. You know,
Go deeper.
We
Scuba.
You know, Mondays we do this, Tuesdays we do that, and you know, somebody that may feel good for them, and then you have that other person that's just like, I need that spontaneity. I need this, that, and the third. You know, and how to meet people in the middle. And
Do you think that you should have figured that out when you were dating, or what?
Yes.
I'm just asking. What do you think?
True. That's true. That's true. But I don't know. But people change over time.
That's
you
true.
might get with people that have been with each other for 20, 30 years. Maybe in your 30s, like y'all was outside. And then in your 40s, one of y'all may not want to be outside no more.
That's true.
Or maybe somebody finds Christ in a real way while they're in a relationship. That's a big shift. And that's really vulnerable. And a lot of people don't speak about, because all of us are not coming into marriages equally yoked in that way. Some of us are finding God as we are lifing with our partner. And like, you know, the vulnerability of just like knowing like, hey, I have chose to do my life with this person, but I also fell in love with Jesus. And how does that shift our lives? And being vulnerable enough to even like try to bring that in without forcing it in, that's all really complicated. So like, yes, we want to say that like I think that's for like people, like when you get married, like real grown, you like figure a lot of these things out. Because I got married so young, I guess I have this perspective of like this evolving will.
No,
that
I think that goes forever.
It does, but I think that some things kind of get ruled out. Like if you get married in your 40s, like, yeah, you should know, like, if your person, like, does he like to go outside or not? Like, but
When you were talking, I thought of a story of a lady that I met at Panera Bread. Shout out to Panera Bread. I love Panera Bread.
we just had that broccoli cheddar.
Listen.
Shout out.
Literally. And I love going there to study, to work, to take time away from the house. And I was sitting in Panera Bread, and she was sitting in the middle. And you know how you have your laptop and stuff, and you need to go to the bathroom? Well, I was like, excuse me, can you watch this for 2.5 seconds? I know you're not going to walk away with it. Like, you know, and she was like, absolutely. White lady in her, I don't even know how old she is. I know she's retired, so she's probably in her 60s. And once we sat there for a while, like, we just started talking, and I don't know how we ended up on this topic, but she was like, guess what my husband gave me for my birthday? And I was like, what? So, like, listen, there was a lot of other topics that
Okay,
happened.
I'm like, okay,
But,
bathroom,
but somehow
computer, birthday.
we ended up at, guess what my husband gave me for my birthday? And
Okay.
she said, he told me he's going to go with me to church on Sundays.
Wow.
And they've been married like some 45 years or something like that, 35 years. Maybe 20 years. I don't want to over exaggerate, but it's more than 20.
Okay, and she just found Christ, and maybe this is a new thing?
No, she's been going to church a long time, like
45 years.
At least like, I don't know the exact numbers, but I know long enough for when he said that to her, it was the best birthday gift ever.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
And again, I know not every story is the same.
Right.
But when I heard that, what I heard, and we alluded to this in talking later, she was like, I think she's like, before I used to nag him and be like, hey, you want to come to church with me? And he just never had the desire.
Yeah.
She's like, but after I stopped and I focused on just like me
Yeah.
and me shifting,
Yes.
my shift loved him better.
Let's talk about that.
My shift treated him better.
Yeah.
My shift didn't nag him or beg him or anything about church, but I was in the knowing of who I am in Christ and growing in that. And that sparked something in him.
Absolutely. I'm a complete believer of that. Like, even in this time of the season that I'm in, this wilderness, I have found Christ. I mean, my love for Christ in the last 2 to 3 years has shifted my entire family.
Go deeper.
And like even my husband, my ex-husband has told me, like, even thanked me during this process for praying for him and for praying over our family and what that's done. And when and what I'm really realizing is, because of that shift and that atmosphere, this process isn't ugly. Mm-hmm. This process has love and respect in it. And it's felt between me, him, and our kids. And so, like, I think that's why I can touch to the peace that people, when they see me, and like wonder, like, how am I operating in peace going through this? It's that atmosphere that you can create that really makes it to where, it's just love. Amen. God's love is just love. It's just love for him that is going to be an expression of my love for his children. My ex-husband is his son. My kids are his kids. And so, that's why I was like doing all the snaps when you were saying that, because I believe that and I feel that. What's the Bible verse that says, like, a praying woman can shift the whole house around? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Is that in Proverbs 31?
I don't think it is. We can keep talking and I'll look it up. I'll really look it up this time.
You want to give me the phone and you talk and I look it up?
Yeah, you go ahead. But I really, and I try to encourage other women. And I really don't think that it's just left for women. I think anyone has the power to shift their circumstance, their household, the people in their family by just leading with God's love. Everything doesn't need to be addressed on an earthly perspective. You can take everything that your concerns up to God, and the way that you operate with people. Start treating people, and this kind of opens up into visions. If you have a vision for what you want to see and it's past what you're experiencing, so like you want to see something bigger than what you're experiencing, start treating people like that thing has already shifted. You want to see,
I like that.
you want to see your marriage healed, or you want to see your kids acting different. By faith, start treating them a certain way. Start encouraging them a certain way. Start thanking your spouse for a thing maybe they haven't even done yet. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Speaking life.
Speaking life. And so that's what I think of, like, when I think of this topic and what the Panera Bread lady, I'm not sure if we got her name, but it's fine. But it sounds like
I believe it might have been Angela. I don't know. Someone's name recently was Angela.
Well, shout out to you, Angela.
Hi,
I'm
Angela.
happy for you. I'm excited for you, because when you experience a shift like that in your household, because I know if she's been married to that man for 45 years, she is on her hands and knees praying for that man.
Absolutely.
Praying for his deliverance. And when you decide to take the approach that you're not going to nag, you're not going to make him guilt trip him into going to church.
You're not going to leave the Bible open on the bathroom counter saying, what scriptures highlighted, and you're not going to make sure that when he gets his lunch or he goes into the refrigerator, it's like you're going to rot in hell, or or I've heard all the stories.
Yes, or just say like try to lure him in with brunch. Like brunch after church.
Well, or the joke about come to my church. It's not weird, and then or they have free coffee. You want to meet out for coffee? Mm-hmm. So absolutely. I'm just thinking about everything that we mentioned today about vulnerability, about praying and asking God for something, and it's shifting. That thing shifting. I think in that one topic,
yeah,
praying for something and being thankful that God didn't give it to you.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if we went deeper into being thankful about God not giving there's so many things that we ask for in desire,
yes,
in all the things. And he says, ask and you will receive, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be open to you. And I believe that's asking him, seeking him, and the door of all the things that we're desiring. What father do you know, if a child asks to know more about their life, would kind of cringe up and close?
Right.
If anything, it's like, oh, you want to love me more? You want to know me more? Oh,
right.
Come over here, take a seat, let's talk.
That's
and
good.
So I was thinking about that, because a lot of times in prayer, like, I've prayed for jobs. I'm going to just go there and be like,
I was going to go there.
Okay. God, if this is the job for me, and of course I still leave room for, Lord, if this is your will, so that I can be in his will. Mm-hmm. But I'll be honest, I'm bummed when I don't get the job. And I was like, I was really hoping.
Girl.
I was really hoping.
I just got a rejection phone call last week.
Oh no.
Yes. I mean, I really thought that I had this job, y'all. Like, I was interviewing for 3 months, had 5 interviews, 2 in person, 1 online panel interview, like all of that, all the things, like we like to say. But, and what's crazy is I was praying for it so much, but then I knew that I shouldn't get that job. Like, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, you ever just you're still praying for something, but then you just know, like, the recruiter was emailing me at 10 o'clock at night.
So you were seeing signs.
Yeah. I knew that I didn't need to be, that was going to be a level of stress. Then I would have to pray to God about the stress. Right. But but yet and still, I prayed for it. I said I wanted it, didn't get it, actually shed tears. And then
you shed tears?
I did. I shed tears. And then as soon as I cried, almost immediately once the crying was over, I was just like, all right. You know that I knew that you knew that that was just going to be too stressful. And I said, okay, yeah, thank you, God. Because I was willing to put myself in the fire. for a paycheck. That's what,
But
willing to put
I
the
want you to
stress.
talk about why you were willing, like what
Yeah.
this job was, quote unquote. Like, I think that,
Yes.
and we talked about this, that's why I'm pushing you in that direction, is
Yeah.
you had a lot of things tied up with this job.
Absolutely. So like me getting that job meant me getting independence.
Okay.
That meant me living on my own. That meant me not being financially dependent. So that's, like I can sit here and say, and thank you, friend. You need friends that'll push you to say the thing, because it's like, I can sit here and say, oh, I cried because I didn't need the job. But it was because I tied I thought my life was dependent on this job. But then what God showed me is, no, I just need to be dependent on him.
Go
Because
deeper.
after, and that makes me a little emotional, because, and then like after that, then you called me to ask me, can I come out here to do the podcast? And then it's like, that's the point where it's like, okay, really scared, because it's like, I thought that was going to be my financial security. So it's like, not only do I not have a job, I really don't. So I don't have no money coming in. And then it's like, you want me to fly across the country to do something that I love, but God, like, I'm scared. I'm scared because I don't have the income. But then it's just like, and then so like the fact that he was able to make it happen and really show me what the source of what I need really is. And it's leaning on him. It's not leaning on a job for my freedom, but it's leaning on God, being like, hey, God, I'm out here with you. I'm out here with you. And then really, and to go along with that even deeper, I was waiting to file for divorce, thinking that I couldn't even do paperwork until I got a job. And so it's like, but God is like, why do you need to, I'm your source. I am your supplier. I have supplied all of your needs. You have never went a day hungry. Why are you putting all your faith into this thing and not me? And so that was a moment where I was just like, my God, my God. And so, this is a real time thing. So like, I am really like, I wore a shirt a couple episodes that said, I'm just out here trusting God.
Yes.
No, real talk. I'm just really out here. So like Reborn Kings.
Yes. If you want to sponsor us,
y'all
holler.
want to sit over it. I'm just out here trusting God. And that's a shirt that I can wear each and every day.
When you were talking about that, it made me think about interviews that I was having, and just the struggle of being an entrepreneur, and always thinking, but I could just go back to corporate America for like 2.5 seconds and
Grab the bag,
the whole bag, including the equity, including the insurance, including all the things.
Child.
And it's like God appeases me. Like he's like, oh, we're on that tip today. Okay, let me just sip tea and watch you go through the motion of going on LinkedIn and searching and applying, and all wrapped up in what?
Yeah.
To what you were talking about. It was, I want independence, but I don't know if we go deep to see it's independence even from God.
Ooh.
Because
Yikes.
if I have a steady check, and this is the thing, nobody thinks that like a job could take you away from trusting him. But we go back to the episode where we talked about Paul and the thorn in the flesh. I don't know if we went deeper, but we talked about how we think the thorn stayed with Paul because God knew that if he got that thorn, he would no longer be in oneness with him.
Right.
Because
That's
then
right.
he would think, well, I'm all that. Like, listen, I asked God 3 times for this thorn to be removed, and God removed the thorn.
Yeah.
God's like, that's not the story.
Yeah.
And as an entrepreneur, as someone who does consulting, life coaching, I mean, I feel like I'm a Jill of 50 trades. I'm like, you need
You are.
photography, got you. You need this, I got you. You need like it's like all the things. And I'm just like, God, I surrender.
Yes.
If and you know, I have prayed the prayer, Lord, if you want me to go back to corporate America, let me know, because I will take the check.
Because some of those numbers on LinkedIn, I'd be like, okay, God, you said I wasn't supposed to go back, but Jesus, are you sure?
But what's funny, and this is full circle, the day I first met you, God told you that you weren't supposed to be working.
Yeah. Right.
And I
Right.
remember that.
Yes. Yes. And so yes. And so like by getting that rejection, what could be seen as rejection last week, it was just kind of like one of the last moments of like, I felt like it was a hit on the head. Like, girl, didn't I already tell you? How many times do I have to tell you what I have for you and what I want for you? I have given you dreams, literal dreams. I've put things on your heart that won't leave you alone. This ain't one of those things.
Wow.
Why do you keep coming back over here for the comfort?
It's
Right?
that-
We talked about that
that's-
comfort. Talked about that comfort because that comfort of the bag, that every 2-week check, that salary.
That sounds
That-
like
that's
slavery.
Girl.
No, I'm
Yeah.
listen. I'm not going back and saying that
Yeah. No, it's
y'all
fine.
know what I'm talking
No,
about.
no, no. The corporate girls are like, yes, we get it.
The corporate girlies. There's some kind of statistic that working a 9 to 5, the trajectory that it takes to be a millionaire working a 9 to 5 is almost near none.
Yeah.
But you can take that step of faith. And I'm not, this is not the episode, quit your job and become an entrepreneur, because it's not for the faint of heart, period.
If God's not saying it to you.
If that's not your story,
Yeah.
if that's not your assignment,
Yeah.
please enjoy his assignment for you.
Yeah. Because there can be you can have an assignment at corporate.
Yes.
You can shift some lives. You can shift some atmospheres within a corporate environment.
Absolutely.
So
I mean,
don't get it twisted.
I was doing that.
Yeah.
I was doing that in the
absolutely.
season that I was in corporate.
Yeah.
I was able to represent God, and then I was able to represent myself when I lost track of that.
Yeah.
But coming even full circle and coming back, like, I still touch corporate
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And that was my thing. I didn't want to be confined to just one space.
Yeah.
Because I believe what God has for us, it's bigger.
Yeah.
But in the trajectory, or in the walking into the bigger, there's hills, there's valleys, there's challenges, there's tests.
Yeah.
And in that, I believe all those things are building up and exposing lies and creating a solid foundation, so that when the things that God has promised us come, we're able to hold them.
Yeah. That's so good.
We're able to keep them.
Yeah.
So
That's so good. That's so good. And, I can't help but to think about the conversations we've had just offline about when we were in like the height of our corporate seasons, the things that we did, or like how just even our heart posture that showed that was low key a thorn for us too in those seasons, like, I mean, like, just the designer things, or like, just the things that were not, and it's nothing wrong with designer and nice things.
no,
And
I love nice things.
I do too. I do. I really do love a Louis Vuitton.
Gucci, if you'd like to sponsor me, let me know.
I do. I like it's complicated. I like nice things. But the thing about it is I prayed the least. I sought God the least in that time period. And am I saying, if I get to a certain level of success or height, I would run back to that? No, but I know after experiencing that, I need to be very conscious and intentional about not doing it. I know that if I get in, because the reality is, when we get into a place of needing God, that's when we're seeking
Yeah.
him the most.
That's
And
so
so that's
true.
we're trying to get ourselves, the goal is to get to a point where we're going to seek him so much always, in all things, like
In
Solomon.
the good, in the bad.
Shout out to Solomon.
Shout out to Solomon, King Solomon. Read Proverbs if you want to know more about the wisdom that God gave him. It's pretty dope.
Yeah.
There's actually 31 Proverbs, I believe. And so it's said that you have a proverb a day. Keep the doctor away. No.
Oh, wow. People say that?
No. Proverb the day will just make you a wiser person.
Yeah, that's good.
And sometimes people couple that up with Psalms. Having, Psalms, because there's a ton of them. There's a ton of Psalms. It's amazing. But as I sit here and I just think about all the things that we just talked about, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for this moment. And I'd love to empower our now bees.
Yeah.
I know people probably think that that's crazy, but
It's a thing.
about how this applies to now.
Mm-hmm.
See, vulnerability needs to happen now so that you can be honest with yourself of where you are and where you desire to be.
Yeah, that's good.
What that opens is that when you're in that space, you allow God in and you allow him into the brokenness, you allow him into the spaces that you probably never let anybody go into. You give him the opportunity to show you where he's been all along in your life and how much he loves you and how much he doesn't want you to stay there. I really want you to sit and be still and say, God, what are your plans for me?
Yes.
Where do you want me to go? How much do you love me?
Yeah.
When I say there is no dumb question to ask God,
Yeah.
I mean it. There are days when I'm like, God, I'm feeling something. What is it? And then he shows me. And I say, okay, what do you want me to do with this? You showed me something new. You showed me that there's some ugh in here. I'm holding on to some unforgiveness.
Yeah.
So then, okay, Lord, what do you want me to do with that? He's like, okay, I want you to forgive. Okay, what does that look like, God?
Yeah.
Help me in every step. Because if we go to God and again, if you're new in your faith or questioning or even seeking, you can contact us. We will talk to you. We will connect you. Ideally, I would love to connect you to a local church, somewhere that's in your vicinity so you can be in community and you can grow in community. And if not, there's virtual, but none of us have it figured out.
Yeah.
We're depending on God every moment, every minute. And there are days where we make mistakes and there's days when we're winning.
Yeah.
But in it, there's no condemnation.
Yes.
In it, there's growth. In it, there's life and life more abundantly. And even on the days when we may have experienced loss or we may have experienced hurt, he's waiting for us to say, Papa, I'm hurting.
Yeah.
Papa, I'm sad.
Yeah.
Can you come into this space with me and be with me? Because he's our hope.
Yeah. And I just thought about while you're saying that, like, while we're being vulnerable, what we're really doing is saying, God, I need you. I need you. My foundation, something with this foundation is broken. I need you to rebuild me. I need you to make me more stable. And it's only in that place when we can say, when we're coming to him vulnerably, like you're saying, like this, I can't do this without you.
Amen.
That allows him to come in and to be able to transform your life. So
Let's go.
yeah.
Sitting it.
Yeah.
Thank
I know
you.
yeah.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Now, we just went through a lot of different steps and all those things. Make sure you take some time either after you listen to this podcast or watch it, or when you have time in the day, and just be still and say something like this as we close out. Papa, I need you.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. I need your guidance. I need your love. I need your peace. Please direct me. And use anything and everything, a stranger, a book, a podcast, the Bible, your word, to guide me.
He's waiting on you. He's waiting on you. He's waiting for you to have that vulnerable moment with him. And that might be the thing that you need to do to make that shift.
Amen.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us, y'all. We are so honored that you keep coming back, keep spending this time with us on this journey of transformation. You see, we're on it with you. You're not alone. So just remember that I got you.
I got you.
And most importantly, he got you.
you.
So we love you.
Peace.
Peace.